The more you try to keep me down and keep my head above the water, you can never hold me down. The more you try to block me out, that's where I kick the wall down. You can never hold me back. The more you try to put me out, the more I'll be blazing, it's too hot. The more you try to put me in the dirt, increase my work, the expert. You see the hunger in the eyes of a survivor. Swallowed my pride, washed down with some saliva. Reinvented my whole life, mental MacGyver. One door shut, another open up, brighter. Listen, battle drums in the distance.
Hey everybody, it's Casey with Pinecase. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I've got a really wicked Canadian hip hop artist who goes way, way, way back. And when I'm talking way back, I'm talking like J-Kin, East Van, the East Coast, the West Coast, all over the place. And there was like this really amazing journey that you went on when you did all of that. There was some peaks and valleys that you went through. Some of which we can kind of relate to. Like I was feeling a little stressed as we were going into this because you know, there's a full circle story for me. But would you mind letting the people know a little bit of what brought you into music in the first place? Oh, pardon me, Robbie G.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. What brought me into music is just my love for hip hop. I fell in love with it. My first introductions were like Get Rich or Die Trying by 50 Cent, that album, and the Marshall Mathers LP by Eminem. And that kind of just sparked my journey and started me along this path of, you know, finding and discovering amazing artists, originally from Guelph, Ontario. And so just influenced a lot by, you know, Toronto rappers and people in the music scene there, but also all across Canada, from the East Coast to Classified to the West Coast with Swollen Members, and everything in between. So yeah, I mean, that was kind of my intro, and obviously got into a lot of the, you know, classics, classic artists, and just, yeah, I've been in love with it ever since I started. And I just, you know, started making music myself and started putting on shows in my small town. And that grew to now putting on shows across the country and touring with some incredible artists and people that I grew up listening to. And yeah, just continually evolving as a musician and trying to release at least an album every year and just provide my fans with a decent amount of music and consistency. And yeah, just doing what I can to contribute my part to this beautiful culture that we're blessed to be, you know, involved in, and yeah, create community and create positive, inspirational movements for everybody.
Yeah, man. And you're good at it. What's crazy though is that like a lot of us were inspired by that music and you know, the drive to want to give back to our community, but not everybody actually takes the time to put in the sweat equity to promote shows when nobody else was doing that, right? Because I mean, you basically grew that in your hometown, you know, single-handedly. Obviously you had, you know, some support and you brought people in, because you're definitely one for like, you know, bigging people up and making sure everyone's got a space, but not everybody takes the time to really do that. So like, what gives you the tenacity to kind of sit through that? Because I can't imagine that being easy, especially when, you know, you kind of pioneered the idea of having like a hip hop space in your community.
Yeah, for sure. Before me, there was really only like one or two hip hop shows that would happen in my city every year. And they were very much against putting local artists on the shows. Didn't really care too much about the local scene or anything. There was really no scene. So yeah, the tenacity was just getting told no. You know what I mean? I don't like being told no, or that I can't do something. And if you tell me no, then I'll probably find a way to do it myself by my own means. So, yeah, I mean, just maybe the stubborn Taurus in me that's just like, you know, I'd just bullhead, go ahead and just say, okay, like, I'm just going to do this myself and make it happen. And, you know, me and my friends wanted a place to be able to showcase our creativity and to share the music that we were working on and making and creating. So it was just kind of like I became a promoter and run a company out of necessity, to basically provide a platform for myself and fellow artists to showcase our talents and to connect and create community and, you know, bring people out that are all interested in the same thing. And then it kind of ballooned into what it is today. And the more shows that I did, the more agents started reaching out and the more artists started reaching out to get involved in what I was doing. And then I started just growing from there and realizing there were so many other communities across the country that were in need of the service that I was providing, and bringing them quality shows that are put together well, that are run on time, that are organized. And yeah, I mean, a lot of shows that I used to be on early on were in disarray, like started late, wouldn't end until like 2 a.m. Headliners would come on until like 1. People are dead and tired at that point. And just a lot of not very well put together type scenarios. And so I definitely tried to pride myself in creating a situation where it was, people knew when things were happening and it was well organized, and the artists, were treated fairly and everything was done, proper. So yeah, I mean, it's just the drive for me is providing that platform for people, and obviously for myself as well, and giving me a chance to connect with artists and fans alike, and yeah, have fun with what I'm doing, and create a safe space for me to perform in.
Oh yeah, that's beautiful. A safe space is it's so underrated, and unfortunately it's just not the standard. So to be able to give that, to yourself and to your fellow artists and to the consumers, to the guests, I've been to one of your shows. Actually, it was unintentional, I'm not going to lie, but it was one of the highest energy environments that I had been in a long time. And man, so I had the honor of bringing my son to a concert for his 10th birthday, which is kind of a rite of passage in our family.
Nice.
And so we went and checked out Dax, and you came on, and I was just like, that's a hard one to compete with. But when you look at your collab list in general, those are some serious names on that list. And I might be gloating a little bit, but I think you might have my favorite collab list of all times. I mean, the names on there are amazing, and those people are all individually so great. But it was definitely something that I think you've succeeded in creating, was a place where we felt welcome, we felt at home. There was everyone in the audience was hanging out with each other, and having a young kid there can bring a lot of anxiety. And everyone was like, "Oh, bring him to the front! Everyone get out of the way!" And and the way that you interacted with everybody, it set the standard for us to know how to act in that environment. So I think, kudos to you, because you definitely accomplished what you set up to do there.
Awesome. I'm glad you had a good time and your son had a good time. Yeah, that's definitely high on our priority list, is, creating a good environment for people. And that's awesome to hear that the fans were so welcoming and bring them up to the front. Most times, if I can, when there's an all ages shows, I'll try and invite, a younger fan or someone in the crowd that's excited to be there up on stage, so they can get a chance to kind of experience what it's like to be on that side of the facility, and just being in front of a big crowd. So yeah, that's a super fun thing to be able to do. And I love doing all ages shows. Being able to reach the youth is very important with music and with the messages that I have particularly, and also Dax as well. He's big on, just creating inspiration for people and helping steer them on a good path in their lives. And I've seen him, just grow and really blow up over the last few years into the, incredible artist that he is, and with the massive following that he has. So yeah. And I'm blessed to be able to work with him. And I was, worked heavily on creating his first tour in Canada, and putting together the foundation for what he's got here in this country. And, and anytime he's coming up here, it's nice to be involved. And they invited me to come on that tour, which was great. And yeah, had a blast. That was an incredible tour, and he's a great artist to work with, and just solid all around. His whole camp's awesome. He's fun to be around, and always really wise and giving good advice and stuff, and would always bring me backstage and kind of pump me up on, how impressed he was with my music, and how he wants to continually keep working with me. So yeah, he's just a really solid guy, and just blessed to be able to know him and to grow with him. And see what he's doing and his impact.
Yeah, that's really neat. What else do you look for in like in collabs when you're kind of out there thinking like when you got new projects coming up, or is there something specific that you're like, okay, those are my people over there, or is it kind of is it a little bit more organic than that?
Yeah, I mean, it's generally very organic. I'm not usually so much searching for artists to collab with. It kind of like falls in my lap a lot of times. But I am like a manifesting generator. I do like write down what I want in my life and write down who I would like to have on projects. So sometimes I'll go over with my creative director, Bird, who's been in my life for like 20 years. We'll kind of plan out the album and be like, who are our dream collabs for this album? Who would we like to work with? And then even when I'm in the studio, I'll be like working on a song and I'll be like, I could hear this person on this song. You know what I mean? So then I'll send it out to them. Or in the case of Dax, like we were on tour and my creative director was just like, dude, like you guys should definitely do a record together. He's like, I'll find you guys a good beat. And he found me a good beat. And we were in my hometown of Guelph at the time doing a show, and my studio was just like, 10 steps away from the venue. So we did the show, and then he came into the studio after we put the beat on, and he, recorded his piece right then and there. And then I did my bit after, and we put the record out. So yeah, I mean, it can just happen just, organically on the road when we're working on things, and get a chance to connect in person and be in the same studio together to work on stuff. And then also obviously with the internet now, we can collaborate with anybody anywhere. So a lot of now, just like I'll be making a song and shoot it off to one of the homies and say, hey, I'd really love to have you on this record or whatnot. And yeah, people are usually really good to help me out and hop on songs if it's something that they feel. And I do the same. I try and provide my collaboration services to a lot of younger artists that are coming up in the game, because I know what it's like getting somebody a little bit more established on a record, and what it does to help kind of boost the algorithm for them and get more listeners and more eyes on their music and stuff. So yeah, I always try and do the same for others is what I want to have done for me. So yeah, I love collaborating with musicians. Some artists want to just focus on their own music, and I do at sometimes. Like I've got this new album that I'm working on that's going to be mostly just me. I might have a couple of guests on it, but for the most part, just the vibe of it is just like my voice and kind of the message that I want to portray on it. So yeah, sometimes I'm working on a project where it's very much centered around myself, and then others I really want to open up the door to bring in other musicians that I'm very fond of, and that, I do my research. I follow a lot of these guys and check out the music that they do and the messages that they're providing to their community. And if it aligns with what I'm doing, then we make some music together.
I think that you need to be protected at all costs, because to put so much importance around passing the torch down it's just heavy to me. It's heavy. It's such a big deal. There's so many, well, I mean, not to make it personal, but on our hotline, we get a lot of young dudes specifically, and all they need is somebody to like open the door for them, open the space, because music is, and it's our saying, music is our DOC, right? Like music will take you out of a lot of different things, but just to be able to have the space to do that, because a lot of places, a lot of clubs, a lot of live events, it's like 19 plus, and you have to have 2 pieces of ID, and like there's all of these kind of these like walls that get put up. So for you to take the time to kind of like navigate that, to create a space for the kids, I think, or the youth, or the ones that are just almost there but not quite, like it's super important. Like and it's just not done enough, unfortunately, but it's nice to know that that's what's happening. I mean, I've seen it when you were there performing, but then you can kind of look back and see it in your music videos, and you can see it in the way that you title, your tracks, you title your cuts. It's like, it's clear that there's like a positive message that's going through all of it. And even when we do like pass the torch a bit, there's like kind of like a lot of anger in the music, and there's a lot of like, it's not necessarily storytelling as much as it is just like, I just need to yell at the mic a little bit, or I just need to, talk about all the negative stuff. And not that that's a bad thing, because obviously, music is therapy in a whole, but to have like, music out there that almost resembles like guided meditation, or, a yoga retreat. Cause I mean, there must be some importance to like how you name your songs, like, because you could name them anything, honestly. Like some of those titles are so wide open. I'm like, you could really put that to anything, and then you listen to it and I'm like, no, you know what's going on here. I know what to expect when I hear it. Like, I know with Decade what you're about to talk about. We're gonna get a chunk of time and a storyline. So I just think it's really cool that you're able to do that and bring some of these words that maybe the youth don't even know exist. They're not part of their vocabulary.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, I have a pretty deep yoga practice and spiritual practice, and very much in tune with spirit. And that's kind of what directs my whole music. I always tell people I don't write the songs. The creative consciousness writes them. I just am blessed to be able to tap into that vein and then download the information and be a vessel for spirit to speak through me and share whatever messages that the collective consciousness needs to get out and be heard at the time. So I mean, I really try and focus in on tuning into what really needs to be said, what messages need to be said. And the songs that they write themselves, and the titles come from whatever is in the song that just like is the driving force of it, so that something that we can kind of encapsulate the whole body of work. Same thing with the album titles. My last albums were Spiritual Material, which was showcasing kind of two different sides of my soul, the spiritual side and the material side. We obviously still need the material side to, create money and wealth and abundance in our lives, and, focus on the things that we want to acquire and get, to be able to inspire others to seek those things as well, and to be able to raise their levels up themselves, and then also sink deeper into like the spiritual side and like what makes this all work, and what we can really do to develop ourselves into better human beings and to be a better service to other beings that are on this planet. And so I just try and really use the music as a way to let my soul and my spirit kind of come out of myself. And it really is about teaching other people to let their light shine, and helping them recognize the greatness that's within them, and how much potential that we have as human beings to like do whatever we want, and to see the world in a beautiful light, and to recognize the beauty of this creation that we're a part of. And I'm lucky to be here, and I'm lucky to be able to find my passion and find my gift that really drives everything in my life. Without music, I don't know where I would be or what I'd be doing right now.
Yeah. What would you be doing? Like, what, I mean, obviously this doesn't come from anywhere. People don't do, I shouldn't say they don't do, but when people are pushing this hard for positivity and projection and love and light, it usually comes out of, hurt and trauma. And I don't know if that's appropriate for me to speak on your behalf, but I would imagine that, there was decisions made that got you to that place.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sit here and say I had like a rough upbringing or like traumatic childhood. I've been pretty blessed with, the path that I chose to be in on this plane of existence. And I mean, small things in my life. My parents broke up when I was like 2.5 years old. So, being in a broken home, I'm sure affected me in some way. But I have both of my parents still in my life, and still very involved in my life, which is great, because some people don't have that. And I mean, I went down some negative paths in my life early on. And, I was a very ambitious person, entrepreneur, and, I started selling drugs at an early age because it seemed to be a very lucrative business model, and
Yep.
didn't really anticipate the consequences of it until I was, arrested and apartment raided and went to jail, and had to kind of reevaluate my life and my life choices, and definitely was a lot to have my freedom taken away from me and to not be able to do, the things that I wanted to do with my life. And it's definitely hindered me in what I've been able to do moving forward, even just traveling into the States and stuff, that I haven't been able to do that because of my past choices. So yeah, there's been some events in my life that have been setbacks. Nothing that I would really consider traumatic, but I mean, to other people, I'm sure they would be like, yeah, being in jail is kind of traumatic. Like, you see some pretty messed up stuff in there. Like, this guy had his eyeball poked out with a friggin' pencil. Another guy had his hand broken in a door, like lost his fingers, and like all sorts of crazy stuff that just kind of like happens. They're just like, whoa, like that, that could be me if I, get into a bad situation. So yeah, I mean, there are definitely things in my life that have happened that could probably be considered by some to be traumatic, but I really try to not label events like that, or even like label things as good or bad. Just kind of, it is what it is. Everything is a lesson. Everything is a learning experience for you to elevate and to make choices in your life that can take you down this path or that path. And I feel like there's so many different paths and multiple realities happening at all different times. And it's all happening based on our choices that we make right now in the present. And, your whole life can be different on a simple choice that deviates you from, what is, I believe, to be your like higher purpose or your grand reasoning for being here. And I really try to be cognizant of that every time that I am presented with a choice, or every time I am like going through the stages of like what should be my next step in my life. And I try to teach that to others as well, to be very aware of the signs and like how spirit is leading us towards certain things, spirit, God, whatever you want to call it. There's like messages inside this universe that are hitting us on a daily basis, and we have to really be in tune with them and listen to them. And then we have our ability as these beings to have free will and choose between what we want. Some could say it good or bad or right or wrong. I just feel like it is whatever we're meant to do, and we suffer the consequences when we make choices that don't align with our higher purpose.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think people a lot of the time focus on like all the things that have happened, or, I mean, my life is great. I waited till I was like 25 to make any sort of like massive mistakes. And then I like blew everything right out of the water for a few years and then sorted it out. But I think it's important that, you're focused on what's happening next and what we're doing now, and like the 2 seconds in front of me, instead of being like, this and this and this and this. Cause I'm sure, being in jail was not nice to navigate, like you said, but to not let that be your focus and let the goods be the focus is, it's the way to move forward. But a lot of people don't. I mean, a lot of us get caught up in like the isms, right? And the negatives and the things like that. What trained you? Like, what got you into a place where you're like, what book did you read? What human did you come across that was like, this is the way we're going to use like, boards with our pictures up on it, and we're gonna change the music in our space, and we're gonna maybe like feng shui our living arrangement so that it's like ergonomical. Like what, because did you like, you came up with that on your own, or was that like you came across Rich Dad Poor Dad or The Secret?
Yeah, I mean, I'm big into reading books, and I was blessed with having some great individuals in my life that have helped me on my path. I definitely didn't do it all myself. There's definitely quiet contemplation and times of meditation where I can like, hear what I need to do next. But I would say the first person that kind of put me on a good path was my guidance counselor in high school. Her name's Heather Ginzel. Miss Ginzel, and she introduced me to Jerry and Esther Hicks, the book Ask and It Is Given, The Teachings of Abraham. And that kind of opened up a whole new realm of concepts to me, which was, you know, tapping into the divine and really asking the universe what I wanted and expecting it to happen, as opposed to a lot of people are like, oh, I'd like this to happen, or I'd like that to happen. But there's no real, like, one, plan of execution, but two, like, they don't even think that it's possible. Like, a lot of people, when they desire something or want something, they're like, oh, it'd be cool if I got that, instead of being like, I could get that and I deserve to get that and I'm worthy of getting that and it's coming to me. It's already here. Yes. And then just like understanding that, you know, the basis of this reality is that we can mold it how we want it to. And we have the power to literally bring in anything into our lives that we want, whether it's the good or the bad. We can bring these experiences into our lives the more that we focus on them and hone in on them, and then really honor ourselves by knowing that we are capable of it and that it can come into our existence if we want it to. So yeah, that was probably the first introduction. And then there's a list of books that, you know, the path that I went down of, like, yeah, obviously reading, you know, books like The Secret, watching films like What the Bleep Do We Know, kind of just esoteric belief systems and philosophies on how to live life in a really effective way. There's, you know, Dax made a post today about the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, books like that. There's so many. Joe Dispenza's Becoming Superhuman. There's like, yeah, there's so many different teachers along the way that each one leads to the next one. I think Tony Robbins, like reading his books early on, Unlimited Power and Awaken the Giant Within, were pretty massive for me early on. The Power of the Subconscious Mind, which I think is a Robert Murphy book, that was a big game changer for me. That one, just recognizing the seeds that we have to plant inside our subconscious mind, because a lot of manifesting that's happening is something that we're unaware of, and we don't even realize, just by our spells that we cast with the words that we say, how it can affect everything in our day-to-day existence. And a lot of people, with the doubt that they cast, the fear that they cast, the what ifs, the how comes, the, you know, over analyzing, the analysis by or the paralysis by analysis by people, like overthinking things too much and being like, oh my God, what happens if this happens, if that happens, and like being so worried about the future, instead of like embracing the belief that, like, hey, this could all be good for you. This could all be amazing if you really wanted it to be. And yeah, so there's been so many different teachers that I've been blessed with, partners, romantic relationships, spiritual partners, gurus, guides, you know, people that I've had the blessing of doing some amazing plant medicine journeys with. And yeah, I feel like the more you put it out there, the more it comes into your existence. So I literally like ask spirit for, like, send me more guides in this realm. There's also guides in the other realms too. Like, I don't know if you're into like spirit guides or anything like that.
Oh yeah.
There's other guides that you don't even see. They're probably in this room right now, that are like helping me along the path as well, and like guiding me in different directions that I can't even fully be cognizant or aware of. But yeah, just like getting into deep states of meditation can open up that door a little bit more for communication with those realms. And yeah, I've definitely been very fortunate to meet some amazing people along my journey and read some awesome books. And I highly encourage other people. I always ask people, like, do you read books? Because if not, like, start reading books. Yeah. That can like change, especially if you're stuck, if you're at a crossroads in your life where you're not sure what's going on or what to do next, is like, read a book. Like, there's so many great books out there, and if you don't like reading, like, I'm reading this book right now, which is a great one. This is called Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. And it's like super deep and like poetic and philosophical. And it just kind of like kind of showcases some of his inner thoughts and the things that he was kind of contemplating while he was here in life, and some of the things that he's learned and lessons along the way. And yeah, it's a great book. But I always tell people, I'm just like, read. And if you don't like reading an actual physical book, like get Audible or go on YouTube. There's tons of books that are literally for free. You can just listen to on YouTube. And then that also inspired me to write my own book. I wrote a book in 2020 called Rapper's Guide to an Enlightened Mind, and put that out. And that's sold so many copies, more copies. I've sold more books than I have of any album that I put out prior, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, it has definitely helped me share what I've learned and disseminate it into something that is easily digestible for people who are curious about getting on that journey of self-discovery and, you know, learning more about themselves and about the world around them. So that's been pretty awesome. I'm working on my second book right now. And
congratulations. That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So that's big and my messaging is like trying to teach people to pick up a book and to read it, and to make it a daily practice. Like every day you should be reading, even if it's just 10 minutes a day, or a chapter a day or something, to, you know, if you just do a little bit every single day, eventually you're going to finish like so many books. It's crazy. And we consume so much mindless content and watch television shows that just rot our brain cells, or read newspaper headlines, or not so much newspaper now. It's like we get our news in the form of YouTube videos and sometimes on the television and stuff. But a lot of that stuff can be fear mongering and just not really place us in a good vibration. So yeah, every day you should make it a point to read some books, to gain some knowledge, and then also, you know, do nothing at all, like sit in stillness, try to shut off all the thoughts in your brain and get tapped into the divine, so you can like see what messages you can get from it. And that only comes when you really quiet yourself. Our brain, I forget what it was. I remember seeing some statistic about it, but it was like something insane. Like we have 130,000 thoughts a day or something crazy. Like the amount of times our brain is just like cooking, just like this, always constantly, like distraction, sports, entertainment, you know, porn, addiction, things that can, like take our brain off in different spirals. And like to really learn how to like strip that all away and read a book or meditate or listen to some nice music. So yeah, you were saying even with like just putting some music on, like it is powerful to put Beethoven on, or like classical music sometimes can just like ease your soul. Anyone who's ever like going through hard times, like there's like, oh, I'm really like stressed out or like anxious or, you know, sad or something, I'm just like, put on some Bob Marley. Like lately, like just literally put on some Bob Marley for like an hour or two and watch how your mind state changes. Watch how like everything seems to fizzle away and you're just like, don't worry, be happy. You're like, oh yeah, like why am I not happy right now? Like what am I worrying about? Like what is really like the big deal here with all of this? Like, yeah, we've got problems we got to deal with, and like there's a solution to every problem. I'm very solution based, so I'm just like, we'll figure it out eventually. But like there's simplicity in just putting on something to ease the tension inside your brain. And I think music can do that. And it helps with everything too, with animals, with plants. You put on some classical music and your plants grow better.
Absolutely.
Literally scientifically proven.
Absolutely.
There's blessings inside that those vibrations. So yeah, I encourage that.
Yeah, people that's the key right there. We take turns in our household playing music for each other, and I always look forward to my oldest son, because he I don't know, he's like tuned into, I don't know what, I gotta go check out his YouTube because I don't know what he's been up to, but there is like, he's got this frequency dialed in, so he's been listening to music frequency forward, so he'll go and look up what hertz he wants it to be, and then listen to whatever songs people happen to use, like utilize that sound for. And so lately we've been like, you know, everyone's like the hustle and bustle and the house is crazy and there's people coming and going and, you know, everyone's got different sports and horses and all this stuff and it's totally chaos. And then all of a sudden, like everyone's like lighting candles and the windows are a little bit open and, you know, everything's just kind of calmed down. It's like mood lighting almost. Like the music is like mood lighting. Mm-hmm. And then no one can figure out what's going on, right? And then everyone kind of sits at the dinner table and, you know, everyone's conversating. No one's fighting or hitting each other. It's like, yep, there you go. All they did was change the song. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a powerful thing. And, you know, we like in Buddhism, they talk a lot about like water and how that affects us. And I think that's another thing to be highlighted in this, right? Because it's the water that's kind of being manipulated in a lot of those situations with the plants, with yourself, with all of that. So when you have like, you know, any sort of frequency or sound or bass, and you can see it, like, have you seen, I'm sure you have, like the sand experiments, right? When they put like the sand on top of the speaker and it moves and then creates like different designs and stuff. And, like,
beautiful images. Yeah.
Yeah. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Big science behind frequency and how, we can affect water with our thoughts, and with our energy. And I really try as much as I can to, like, anytime I'm drinking water, to like bless it, like really thank it and be like, thank you for, you know, being the life force of me. And even for plants too, like plants need two things, sunlight and water, and obviously dirt, to like get their roots to, but like
not necessarily, man. Have you seen my spider plants? Like they're sitting in cups of water on my windowsill, like just doing their thing.
Some can do it without water. Like, there's what is that called? When even like they grow marijuana like that, hydroponics, you know what I mean? Like just like, and lettuce and stuff, they grow it in just like water and straight in water. So they don't even need soil for the roots. So I mean, the two main things they need is water and sunlight, and we need that too. So getting outside and like feeling the sunlight on your skin is really important, particularly in the morning. If you can like get up in the first like 10 minutes of your day, just go out and like feel sunlight on your skin is really good for you. But water is crucial to our existence. Without it, we don't exist. We need water and we need oxygen to breathe. And then a little bit of food. And even the food situation, I'm pretty sure there's been experiments done where like people have lived on literally just water for like a long length of time, been able to like maintain. So I really encourage people to fast. I do that a lot. I try to fast most days, like in the morning. I try not to eat for the first like 5, 6, sometimes 8 hours in the day. And then eventually have a meal. But sometimes I'll go like 3, 4 days with just water. And sometimes you can go even longer than that. And it just like cleans out your system. We're just constantly piling shit on top of more shit. And it's just not good for the overall health of our bodies. So fasting is important. But water is quintessential to our survival. And it's important to be thankful for it and to speak to it, because it's somehow can hear it. It somehow can tap into it. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Thank you. Intention is so massive. And I think it's important to go through your day like that, you know, with intention, whatever your intention may be. I mean, it's not really my business, but we do things so, you know, mindlessly all the time. And like going back to when you said, like, just sitting with yourself and like being still or being quiet, like, everything, the hustle and the bustle and the crazy and all of that stuff. Like, where does that leave time to be creative? I don't know how people do that. They're like, oh, I did all this and I don't know why I can't finish this painting, or I don't know why I can't, you know, clean my car. I don't know. I'm like, well, I wouldn't be able to either, I don't think, you know, so it's important to be like that. I appreciate you speaking about it, because not a lot of people come on here and talk about all the positives and things, like the solutions. It's just that simple, you know. It really is just that simple. And the more simple it is, like the quicker you are to being comfortable.
Yeah, and I'm a firm believer in like complaining creates painting. Like the more that you are like talking about all of the negatives of something, the more that you just create it. You literally do. Like with anything, I try to really be cognizant of that when I'm like in my day to day or like any situation, even if somebody's like kind of annoying me or getting on my nerves or whatever, I try not to talk about that with other people because that just creates more of it. And you can always find something good in everybody and focus on that a little bit more. And that's something that I think I learned a lot from my grandmother. She was a person who just always could see the good in others and always would kind of lean into that good as opposed to the bad. And I think that really helped reinforce that in me to recognize that, you know, we can literally choose which thing to focus on of anything. And the more that we talk about and dive into that positive side of things, the more that it literally creates that inside our environment, and we feel better about it too. Like you never feel good when you're like complaining about something or just like, you know, talking down on someone or whatever.
Yeah, it's exhausting too. Like, ugh, like it's exhausting. It's exhausting. I don't know. Like, and it changes it changes how people react to you. It changes how you react to yourself. Like, and I've seen it firsthand, you know, and we all have, right? Like if you're like, oh man, whatever, people react to you differently. And then everyone's surprised. Like, I don't know why people are rude to me all day. I'm like, well, I don't know. Maybe if you took some of that away a little bit and enjoyed yourself, and people, you know, that breeds positivity. It breeds people being comfortable around you. Like I always find it interesting when people are like, I don't know, the bus driver and the, you know, people at the pharmacy. I was like, well, I mean, you're kind of oozing it a little bit.
You get back exactly what you put out. It's like 100% fact of how this ended. That's well, you got to be kind and cordial to everybody that you come in contact with, even the ones, and particularly the ones that are pressing your nerves a little bit more. If there's like my biggest hardest thing is like when I'm dealing with customer service reps on the phone. I always got to remember, I'm just like, they can't control everything, because sometimes I'm just like, I need to get something done and they cannot get it done, and I'm just like, I need to speak to your supervisor, I need to speak to up or something, because I need to get this dealt with and done. Whatever is causing me to have to be on the phone with you is a problem, and now I've waited on hold for an hour, and that's made me even more upset. So I'm just like, I just need to get this dealt with, and I try as best I can to not like raise my voice or get upset at those kind of people. Even just like customer service people in general, people who work at hotels or restaurants or anything like that. Like if something goes wrong with your service that you're supposed to be getting, like, you know, it's generally not the person who's serving it's fault. Sometimes it is, but it's generally not. And, you know, just be kind to those people, because it's going to come back in the way other people treat you. And yeah, I'm like, it's funny when you say like that somebody was like complaining about like how rude people are to them. I never feel that ever. Like I go through my days every day, positive interactions with everybody. Like there's very rare times where I ever come across somebody who's just like giving me a hard time or being rude to me or something like that. I'm just like, I literally barely ever see that attitude. Right. Like every now and then there's like a sound guy that I'm working with at a show that just like kind of, you know, he's just like maybe in a bad mood or something and kind of like says something weird when we're like doing sound check or something. I'm just like, I'm like, okay. I'm like, how do I deal with that? I'm just like, all right, like just.
There's always a sound guy though. That's just the way
it's funny how I say it's the sound guys, but yeah, that's like the only one that I have on the road that are just like, sometimes some owners of venues are a little bit difficult to deal with, but for the most part, everybody that I deal with is like super nice and super cordial and super friendly. And I think that's partly because of how I interact with people too. And I like call that in. I'm just like, I'm going to treat everybody with a certain level of respect. And like, mind you, if people act in a different way, like I can deal with it and hopefully deal with it in a positive manner without having to get into like arguments or you know, at the very worst, like a fist fight or something like that. But I can defend myself if it comes down to it.
You're like, don't underestimate where I came from.
Not let anybody, you know, walk over me and take my kindness for weakness. But I really try and maintain just good good rapport with everybody. It always comes back, and it feels better to have positive interactions with people than to be like going about your day and having a bunch of people like be rude to you or something. Like, I can't imagine. I'd be like, that's like living hell on earth.
Yeah.
You know, just creating your own hell on earth is like, we could live in the heaven that we create by just, you know, treating people well and living good ourselves. So stay healthy, stay happy.
Yeah, amen to that. Yeah, I don't know why we don't need to wait for all of that. Like, we're already in it. It's I flirt with everybody. Like, I am shameless. Like, I flirt with everybody. Like, you know, the old folks in the lineup at the grocery store. Like, how's your day? How's it? I mean, flirt's maybe a hard. You know, everyone's politically correct. I don't mean it like, you know.
Yeah.
Like that, but like I don't know where that left, or where we stopped being like neighborly or whatever, you know. I'm like, man, no, bring back the 90s. Like, I want to know what everybody's doing. You're over my fence line, like, you got carrots, I got potatoes, like, we're cool, man. You know. Yeah, it's important, but I don't know, I guess some people get stuck in their minds, and like you said, like, the entertainment is only, you know, it's this big nowadays, and it's hard to kind of look up from that once in a while. But yeah, it's nice to know, it's refreshing to know there's still, you know, some regular folks out there.
Yeah. It's important. Cool. It's important how we interact.
Yeah, definitely. So can we talk about your music a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
I'm kind of curious, because when we were talking at the very beginning, you said like, you know, all the big names that inspired you, and again, you know, people get inspired all the time, but not everybody, you know, picks up the microphone or like steps into the studio. So what was the moment where you were like, this is for sure what I'm doing? Because I mean, not everybody can make music and live off of that, right? Usually, you know, people are out here with 2-3 jobs, everybody's out doing stuff. So where was that moment in the story where you're like, yeah, we got this. This is what it is. My feet are supposed to be on the stage.
Yeah. I think it was probably pretty early on for me. I went pretty headfirst into this. And as soon as I started writing songs, it was just like, that's all I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. You know, I still played basketball and would get outside and, you know, do the regular sports that I was into. But slowly and surely, as soon as I found music, like a lot of the other things I was interested in, just like I stopped being interested in them as much. Right. And music was the main focus. Like, all I really wanted to do when I got home from school was like, I'd literally get home, me and my friend would go to our producer's place, grab his computer, bring it over to my house, and then we'd record all night, pack it up, take him home, and then do it all over again the next day. Like, that was it. And then even when I got out of school and I went into the, you know, working jobs, and all of them were, you know, dead end jobs. I wasn't working anything as like I want to have a career in this. It was all a means to just like make some money so that I could support my musical endeavors and start the foundation of that. So, and then even at every job that I was working at, I was either listening to music the whole time. If I didn't have the ability to have music there, I was playing music in my head the whole time. And then I was writing songs. So like on break time or whatever, I'd be writing. Or if I was working a job, like I did, like, you know, car factory parts, and like put the parts on the machine and it starts like doing the welding, and I'm over here writing another on the track. And then I'd write like tracks at my job and then go home after, record from the moment that I got home until the moment I went to bed, and then wake up and do it over again. Like, that's literally all I did. And I wasn't like much into, you know, going out and partying, or, you know, I'd hang out with friends here and there to maintain that social aspect and connection with people. But my major focus was just music, and how do I make this sustainable to be able to live off of it. And I was very systematic about how I did that. Like, was working like a 40 or 50 hour work week, bring in income to help support my musical endeavors. And then slowly, like, just petered it down, like went from, this was like my music income and this was my work income. And it was just like music income, bring down the work, bring down the work, bring down the work. And then music income took over to the point where I didn't need like a regular job, right? And it's just like having like not jumping the gun and being like, all I want to do is music. Let's just quit my job now when I have no savings and no money and no ability to like buy merchandise and inventory and like get the ball rolling for me. You got to be really, really smart about how to do this. Like for some people, it is good to just like throw yourself right in the fire and be like, let's see, you know, how we can make this happen. But for me, I'm big into stability, and also just something that I've been researching lately is like, when we have uncertainty about the future and where we're going to go in our lives or how we're going to cover bills or this and that, it causes us to go into fight or flight responses, which just cause anxiety and then put us in these states where we don't do anything and we just get lazy and procrastinate a lot of things. So it's so important to make sure that you have a secure path, or like you've got a nest egg. I'm very into like financial planning and like budgeting properly, and having an emergency fund where you're like, if something bad goes on, you're not like, oh my God, what do I do? My whole life has to get upended. I need to sell this and sell that to be able to cover this and this and that. Is like, make sure that you save money for those situations. And then anytime you have to pull from your emergency fund, the next thing you do is just like keep on stacking funds back into that emergency fund to make sure that you're solid for the next crisis that happens, or because things are going to happen in your life, or, you know, a friend is going to die or a parent's going to die, and you're going to want to take some time off work, time for yourself, and income's not going to be coming in as steadily as it was before. There's going to be things that happen in your life. Your car is going to break down. You know, if you're a homeowner, something can happen in your house that like falls apart and you've got to fix it or repair it. There's just there's always something that's going to happen. So making sure that you're set on those kinds of things, and like, don't do that transition into being a full-time musician until you have your bills covered and you have a steady path and trajectory to how you're going to be able to sustain having a music career. And you're right, like there is a lot of musicians, a lot of insanely creative musicians, people that are way better than me at writing music, way better singers, producers, everything, and they're still working a day job, or
right.
you know, stuck in the 9-to-5 mentality and the employee mentality, when they could be uberly successful if they believed in themselves, worked hard at it, spent less time with addictions and drinking and drugs and like watching, you know, mindless entertainment that's not serving them a purpose, and like really honed in on their skills. There's a book by this guy Nick D, who's a musician that's really crushing it right now, makes like, I don't know, tens of thousands off of just Spotify every month. And he's got a book called You Don't Want It Bad Enough. And that's the issue with a lot of people, is they don't want it bad enough. They really don't. They say like, oh, I'd be cool one day if I could just be a musician and just do this full time, or it'd be cool to one day own a home, or be cool to one day do this. But again, back to what I was saying before, it's like, it's always this elusive thing that they put out as if like, oh, like it'd be cool if I win the lottery or something like
right.
that. Yeah. It's not just going to happen. You know what I mean? You have to figure it out and like understand how money flows in and how it flows out to like sustain yourself as a musician. There's so many artists that don't even have merchandise, don't even have a website. I'm just like, dude, it's 2024. Like you should have a website. You should have merchandise available. If people find out about your music, if you blow up tomorrow, what are they going to, you're just going to live off your streams, like, which some people can nowadays, but for most it's hard. You've got to like, there's only a few revenue streams of this music industry. It's like a contract, which sucks generally for most intensive purposes. A lot of people who get signed to record labels end up broke after they're done. You've got shows, you've got merchandise, you've got streams, and then sponsorship deals potentially. So there's really like 5 major ways that you can like make money in this industry. And like, you've got to figure out how to get each of those like flowing money in.
Listen, as soon as I seen your merch, I'm like, this dude is a businessman. Like, musician for sure. but like you're a full-on businessman, like you're an entrepreneur. Like there's no, I don't think anybody can hold a torch to your merch. That it is like, it's lit, like lit. Like I don't even, man, your website's clean, everything is easy to navigate, you can go straight through. But I mean, what inspired you to do so many different pieces of merch? Like, was it just to appease the masses, or was it you're like, no, this is when I roll this out, this is what I want it to look like a full store?
Yeah, I mean, I think something that my business coach preaches a lot, Dan Martell, he says, do basically pattern matching. So you see somebody else in your field who's doing what you want to be doing, and you pattern match. So you do this with your socials. You can do this with your music videos. You can do this with your songwriting, and you can do this with the business model. And the merchandise is definitely a big part of that business model. Is like, I would say the benchmark for me is like Tech Nine. Are you familiar with Tech Nine?
Oh, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Strange music, though, the thing is exactly, it's a foundation. Like
it's insane. Their merch game is the benchmark for the industry. And there's other artists, obviously, like Chris Webby. I really, he does a great job at it. Insane Clown Posse is like top notch. They're incredible.
Lifestyle, right?
Like board game, and like collector cards, and like all the, like their merch is insane. If you go to an ICP show or like anybody in that Juggalo world, they crush it on merch.
It's a lifestyle, man. A whole lifestyle. Like what?
Yeah, like you got to create cool items and like understand it as a business. Like literally, how does Nike sell so many freaking clothes? You know what I mean? How, like, one, they get like endorsement deals and they put their clothes on particular people who share it and get other people onto their product. They come up with new product constantly. They're always refining, redesigning, just coming up with something new and something cool that people are into. Keep it clean, keep it nice. But you can do anything that you want. If you're a creative individual, you can make your own merch. You can literally like draw up a cool design, send it to a graphic designer and say, hey, tweak this a little bit, and boom, you've got a t-shirt design. Tom McDonald, one of my homies, he crushes it in merchandise. Like it's insane. Every time he drops a new song, he's got 50 different t-shirt designs.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like his website is so clean. It's like, boom, all of the stuff is just listed there. They've got packages and bundles, and like get a CD and a hoodie and a t-shirt and this and that, and like put it all together. And like you can do okay off of selling CDs, but you're going to do a lot better when you like create an entire store. So yeah, I would say watching other people doing what I want to be doing and like meticulously going through what are the items that they're selling. You know what I mean? Like, how can I do something that's similar? I'm not trying to take their ideas, but do something similar that speaks to my brand and to who I am, and like, come up with something creative and innovative that nobody else really has. Like I try and pride myself on having merch items that like not everybody has. Like one of the cool ones that I have are like USB wristbands. It's like a wristband that's got my logo on it, and then you pull it apart and it's a USB key.
Yeah, that's so
put
cool.
all of my albums on it, and you've got like 100 songs. I think we sell them for like $30-$40, something like that. So you're getting like crazy value in that. You've got a piece of merch that's like you wear and you can have, and it has your name on it. Everyone sees it and they're like, what is that? And they're like, oh, this is like songs. And if you're at somebody's house, you can be just like, plug it into your car, plug it into your PlayStation or whatever, and let's download some of these songs, and you can have them too. It's a great thing to have, to just like come up with creative ways to reach your audience and give them something that's like a collector item too. We released my first collector card this year.
Oh my God, congratulations. Someone in the comments was like, I have some stashed away in my safe, and I was like, what?
Yeah, he bought like 5 or 10 of them, like right off rip, and was just like, this is his first collector's card that he's ever done. Like, you know, who knows in the future, if I turn into some massive artist, that might be worth something more than the $10 that we charged for it, right?
So cool.
We did 200 of those and they sold out. So now we're working on coming out with the second collector's card. I just got my first vinyl pressed up this year. With, you know, not everybody has a record player, but it's still a really cool piece of like artwork. And I made the vinyl look like artwork. It looks like a super cool piece of merch. It's not just your regular black vinyl. It's like blood splatter, red and black, kind of cool.
Yes.
And the, you know, just the tracks that I chose for it were really big records that I have. So yeah, I mean, I just really try and come up with cool stuff and new things and always have something new, like shot glasses, or like I came up with a song called Ball Drop, and like we made a ball drop drink, and like, you know, people could like drink that while having the ball drop glass that had like a little air bubble ball in the bottom of it that looked like it was a ball dropping like inside the glass. And yeah, it's like, yeah, try and think outside the box and be like, how can we make some cool merch that like will resonate?
And that's what's nice about your merch, is that you, even for like somebody who maybe doesn't know who you are, doesn't listen to your music, hasn't been to a show, that just your logo is trendy anyways. Your merch is trendy anyways. Like you don't even have to appreciate music to want to wear your clothing or wear, you know what I mean? I was like, it's tasteful. It looks, and not to say not everybody knows who you are, because listen, like I know I've been in your comment section before, like that's not the issue. I just mean like for, you know, my grandma who's listening to Elton John her whole life, she would easily like purchase it just because it's so beautiful looking, you know? So yeah, you got that dialed right in, man. And the album thing, like huge congratulations. Because listen, when Calico, her son is a 10-year-old DJ, right? And people are still ripping vinyl out there for real. And so it's like, this is like, it's one of those things that it can either be artwork or it's functional art, but then it gets to like have a whole new life with somebody else that's maybe not just gonna like throw it on a record player and play it, right? Like it's, yeah, that's a cool, I'm super stoked for you for doing that. That's really awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely big in creating albums and just creating more music for people to listen to and never stop, right? Like that's, I think the biggest thing that hinders a lot of people is they'll get to a certain level and then just like peter off because they kind of like gave up on the hopes and the dreams. And like you got to just keep creating, and the muse is only going to arrive when you show up. So you got to show up every day and like, you know, put on the beats and, you know, just write music and create cool pieces of clothing for people to rock, and create cool albums for people to listen to, and cool collaborations. And yeah, just keep going and keep putting stuff out, because the people need it, and the market is huge. It's only going to get bigger. Like music is a part of people's lives, and like, you know, to the extent of like people have used my songs for like wedding ceremonies, or like you know what I mean, crazy stuff or saving their lives. Like literally there's like people who've told me that like one song in particular, they like were wanting to commit suicide and they just played that song over and over again, and it helped them literally like stop from doing that. And that's like incredibly impactful, and something that I hold very dear to my heart, to like be able to help people that are struggling through hard times. Yeah, music can literally change people's lives and help put them in a good mind state, and like keep them positive. And the beauty of touring is you get to meet some of these people, and they get to thank you for how your music has changed their lives and affected them on such a deep level. So yeah, it's the power of music is unparalleled, and there's so much more coming from me.
That's the paycheck right there, right? Like that's the give back right there. That's you take that straight to the bank. Like, yeah, I can't imagine there being any more valuable thing than that. Someone being like, man, this really did take me out of this place. Like, yeah, it's beautiful.
Very rewarding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure it is. For sure. What's your favorite song of yours?
It changes literally every week, I would say, because I'm making new music all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think right now, I did a remix a few days ago for a Jelly Roll song that features one of my other favorite artists, Russ. It's a song called Really Gone. And as soon as I wrote it, I'm like, I love this song. This is my new favorite song. And I listened to it like 100 times over. Yeah. After I create something, I'm like super pumped about it. I'll just like play it on repeat and repeat. And I'm just like, fuck, like, wow, like that's so cool. Like, I love that. I'm like, I created this, you know what I mean? Like I have nothing, it was nothing. And I put on the beat and then I created this song. Sometimes it could be like a remix like this track is, where I'm like, you know, making my interpretation of a song that somebody else created. And other times it's a completely original song that I've made. But yeah, it's like a lot of my songs, if you ask me what's my favorite song, like it's something that's probably not even released because it's something that I just created like yesterday or like last week. If you were to ask what my favorite song is that I've released, it's like out right now. Currently, there's so many. I don't know. I did this adventure remix to a Russ song that I'm like particularly really in love with, and like it didn't do as well as like many of my other songs in terms of like numbers, but it's such a special song to me. I love it so much. Yeah, there's another song that did really well recently. It's a remix of a Fort Minor song. It's called Where'd You Go? And it's just like really near and dear to my heart because I got really vulnerable on it and talked about my relationship. And I went through a divorce this year. So having that kind of encapsulated in a song was pretty powerful. Yeah, so that I would say that's one of them. I don't know. It's hard for me to pick which one is my favorite or which one I think has caused the most impact for people. Yeah, I don't know. I just love making music, and I'm just going to keep on making more of it.
Oh man, that's so cool. Like it's so cool to even hear you say some of that stuff. Like to hear people that are like in it wholeheartedly, you know, because the industry can be a lot. And that's why I think it's really impressive with like Robbie G Presents that you're like making sure that there's a space for people to come up in a healthy and safe environment and to like put people on like that. But yeah, it's nice to hear that people are still in it like for themselves as much as they are for the paycheck, because that's important, and for the community and their fan base as well. Like that's deadly, man.
Yeah, I always say like if I wasn't making money off of music, I don't think I would stop making music. You know what I mean? Like when you fall in love with something like this, it's a lifetime thing. Like I often like joke with some of my friends and stuff. I'm just like, I think I'll be like 60 and still touring. You know what I mean?
Oh
like,
yeah.
If I'm going to be able to get to a point where I'm just like, I'm just not going to want to tour anymore. No, I'm just not going to want to make any more music. I'm like these people who, you know, even close friends of mine that are just like, this is my last tour and I'm kind of done with making music. I'm like, how? I'm like, maybe I'll feel like that in another 10 or 15 or 20 years. Maybe I'll just get sick of it at some point. But right now, with how I am in my life, I can't see myself ever wanting to do anything other than this. I don't like, if I have to do a couple things different, like, and even putting on shows or whatever, something that's still in the same vein of like being surrounded by music in my life, it is great. But like, my highest calling is to make music and to put out music in the world. And like, yeah, writing books and stuff too, that's like another part of it, sharing my creativity in other ways. But like music is number one for me, and everything else is secondary to help me just make music. If I just want to make music all day. I just sit in the studio all day and just crank out tunes. And that's what I have been doing for like the last 3 weeks since I got home. I've been on tour since like February this year. It's now October. I finally got home October 5th, and I've had 3 weeks here to just straight make music. And I go back on tour in another few weeks here with Swollen members, and then I'm doing some solo dates in December. But yeah, I'm like when I'm home, I'm making music like constantly every day.
Yeah, that's so exciting. What happens, and I don't want to take it to a negative place because that's all beautiful, but what happens when you put your heart and soul into something and it doesn't like land quite right? Like, do you take it personal, or you're like, nah, this one's just for me then?
Whatever. Yeah. It's whatever. Yeah. It doesn't faze me one bit, you know. I'm like, I don't think I really have expectations with my music. And there's something that Rick Rubin said in an interview, I think, was basically like, music should be made for the person making it. And if anybody else likes it, well, that's cool. Like, that's a cool byproduct. But at the end of the day, like, I'm making music because it's a self-expression of who I am. And it feels good to me to like let out those bursts of creativity and like let spirit travel through me to like be the vessel to let this into the world. And the happiest I find that for myself, if you're asking me like what makes you most happy in life, when I'm in the zone and making music, and then I finish making a song and I'm listening to it back and I'm like vibing to it, like that puts my dopamine levels at like the highest peak that it could ever be, because I'm just like so enamored by the creativity of it. I'm like, oh my God, I just birthed the song. You know what I mean? It's like literally like giving, like, I can't compare myself to giving birth because I'm not a mother. I'm not a woman that can actually have a child, but that's like, if I could compare it to anything, I feel like that's what it would be like, is like bringing life into this universe. I'm just like, I just made a new baby song, and now who knows, the world might like this child or the world might hate this child, but I could care less because I just made something that I think is beautiful. And like, yeah. And some songs I know are not going to do that well. I'm just like, I'm making this song and I'm like, this isn't super poppy, or this isn't like super trendy right now. And it doesn't say all these different words that like are in most popular songs right now, but I could care less. I'm not trying to make the next big pop hit. I'm not that artist. I'm just making music that feels good in the moment. And like some tracks tend to lean more on the poppier side, and some tracks are more on the introspective side and more, with difficult words or whatever, just like not your normal vocabulary that you would hear in like a hit song or whatever. But yeah, I could care less for the most part. I just want to make music that I want to make. And then if somebody else likes it, cool. Like, that's awesome. That's a thumbs up for me. Or if it can help change somebody's life. But at the end of the day, what really, like, I say this often, is like, if my song that I make changed one person's life or helped one person with like overcoming something in their life, some sadness, some grief, some turmoil, some trauma, some tragedy, then I've done my job with that piece of art. And that's all that matters. Like, if it helped one person, awesome. If it can help a million people, even better. But and that is my eventual goal. I want to be able to reach millions and millions of people with my music, and travel around the world and perform internationally in front of arenas with crowds, singing along to every word. And that's what we're working towards. But even if we land somewhere in the clouds, we're reaching for the stars. But even if we land somewhere in the clouds, I'm happy with it.
Yeah. You're well on your way, man. Honestly, there's no way that that's gonna ever, with all the vibes and all the good people and the foundation that you've built and all the structure. I mean, a wise man once told me, if you want to be a musician, buy a studio. Like, that's how you do it, right? Buy all the things, build all of the things. Don't rely on other people for it. And it's clear that that's how you went into it. And I'm super excited to see all of that happen, and the globe trotting and the coming off the airplanes and everybody screaming for you. Like, that's totally exciting, especially coming from Canada, man. Because I mean, the boys did it well back in the day, and then much kind of faded off. I don't know if they turned into a reality TV show network or whatever the hell happened there. And there was a bit of a lull for a bit. And then you guys like triumphantly held Canada's hip hop scene back up. Like, all of a sudden just like rose out of the ashes that once was like the late 90s, early 2000s. So it's coming back with a vengeance and on a big, beautiful way. And
yeah, we got some great artists here for sure. Lots of talent. And people have obviously done a lot to help put Canada on the map in terms of our music, being accepted globally. So,
but you're one of those people. I mean, you don't have to go far to see that. You don't have to go far to see that. I mean, just between you and I, like, I mean, the work's already been put in. You've been around for a while. You've done this. The sweat equity is there. Like, that's not even the conversation. Like, it's happening right now. You can see it in everything you talk about. Like, there's not. there's not too many people that are like, you know, take all the different aspects of their life, and not to like crap on anybody else. I don't mean to do that. I just mean to highlight you a little bit. Like, it's in everything that you do, right? So you have no choice but to for that just to be it for always, right? Like 60, I don't know, maybe, but I think you enjoyed performing your show just as much as we enjoyed being at your show, you know, like we were all in the same space together, and that was really obvious. It was an experience for sure. It wasn't just a show. It was an experience. So
yeah, definitely. I have fun up there.
Yeah. Quickly before we go, and it's just a personal question. How do you navigate dealing with the criminal record thing? Like, are you able to go, because is it just the States that's kind of holding back that space? Yeah.
I've done like festivals in South America, and I've
right.
a bit in Europe. And I probably could get into like Australia and New Zealand. But right now it's just America is the biggest thing that's holding me back. That's like a massive big piece of the music pie globally, being able to tour America. So I mean, I've put in the paperwork to get a waiver in the States. I'm just waiting maybe the next 2, 3, 4 months. I'll find out if I get my waiver, and if that happens, when it happens, because I know it's going to happen, I will be able to tour in the States. So I'm hoping, if all goes to plan, that by next year I'll be able to start doing my first shows in America.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. This is really fun. I really enjoyed hearing being reminded of all the great things that I need to do to be mindful and have a positive vibe. For everybody out in the comment section, I see you. We see you. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Tonight, if you guys are watching this back on the repeat, we appreciate you. Go check out Robbie G on all platforms. I'll throw the links up all in the comment section, because it's a great way to spend. I don't know what the weather is like where you guys are, but you know, I could use a little sunshine in my day. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this on after we exit. Go check out his shop, his merch. Like we said, it is fleeky. I mean, honestly, there's no more cards left, which is too bad, but you guys can go ahead and put on the notification bells and all that good stuff, so you know what's going on over there. I definitely need to get me a t-shirt, because I slid on all the merch when I was there last time, but that with a cute pair of ripped jeans tied up behind, I think is going to be the steez this fall. So, you know, it's good.
Thank you so much. Yeah, check it out, RobbieGHipHop.com. You can find everything there, all my links. Follow me on the socials. Instagram is at I am Robbie G. My Facebook page, I'd say I'm the most active on that. It's Robbie G Hip Hop. So yeah, wherever you stream your music or check it out, go enjoy it and dive deeper down the rabbit hole. I've got tons of music videos out and lots of albums and stuff. So if you're connecting with the words and the messages, dive deeper down the rabbit hole of what is my offering to the universe. So, and thank you again for having me and sharing the time and space.
It was absolutely my pleasure. You guys stay safe out there, and we'll see you next Tuesday. All right. Bye for now.
The more you try to keep me down and keep my head above the water, you can never hold me down. The more you try to block me out, that's where I kick the wall down. You can never hold me back. The more you try to put me out, the more I'll be blazing, it's too hot. The more you try to put me in the dirt, increase my work, the expert. You see the hunger in the eyes of a survivor. Swallowed my pride, washed down with some saliva. Reinvented my whole life, mental MacGyver. One door shut, another open up wider. Listen, battle drums in the distance, moving with enough force like army tank pistons. Pray for the strength of Jah to fight resistance. Fight mode, shields up, moving with resilience.
With the strength of 1,000 lion and the strength of 1,000 giant, please stay strong. Please stay strong. With the strength of 1,000 elephant and the strength of 1,000 tiger, we stay strong. We stay strong. We stay
The
strong.
further you take my rights away, I'ma run to it, refuse to hear my voice. Speak loud when I spit it, but you don't get it. You just wanna be a side critic. See somebody else showing hate and decided to roll with it. Now how would you feel standing on the sideline and watch the color of a nation deteriorate over time? The flag real high, but compassion 6 feet below. Now you're searching for that justice that decided to never show. Deny my place, I'm back with a trace. Keep up the pace, tight lace, game face, get back in the race. Whatever they did could never be undone. Every dark night ends with the rising of the sun. Squandered every wealth that's built from the mud. Squandered every wealth that's built from the blood. Squandered every wealth that's built in chains. Stolen from the ancestors, running
With
through
the
my
strength of
veins.
1,000 lion and the strength of 1,000 giant, please stay strong. Please stay strong. With the strength of 1,000 elephant and the strength of 1,000 tiger, we stay strong. We stay strong. We stay strong.
I can see, run to the light at the end of the tunnel winner.
We stay strong.
I can't breathe, we're gonna get oxygen without the justice system.
We stay strong.
And I know, gotta keep my head together.
We stay strong.
Don't doubt me, please don't doubt me.
We stay strong.
Tell me how can we be strong if we still shooting? Tell me how can we be strong if we still looting? Tell me how can we be strong if we still hating? Please tell me now, please tell me now. Tell me how can we be strong if we're still divided? Tell me how can we be strong with egos inflated? Tell me how can we be strong with so much hunger? Please tell me now, please tell me
With the
now.
strength of 1,000 lion and the strength of 1,000 giant, please stay strong. Please stay strong. With the strength of 1,000 elephant and the strength of 1,000 tiger, we stay strong. We stay strong. We stay strong.